Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Lost in the Ether. My name is Spencer. I am joined with my friends Eric and Cody tonight. And tonight, to start off December, we are going to be talking about our favorites Christmas stories, whether they be games, movies, shows, whatever. So, to get us started off tonight, I'm going to let Eric go first with what his favorite Christmas stuff is, and then we'll be going off to Cody and then myself. So, without further ado, I'll let him have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Spence. All right. Yeah, I have a few of them. I think there's so many come to mind, but I think my top favorite ones would have to be National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation,
Solid.
Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Polar Express, uh, and I'm blanking on the name. Um,
Polar Express. Polar Express brings tears to my eyes every
yeah.
single time, dude. Every time.
I'm blanking on the one. What's the one with Tim Allen? Golly.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm trying to find. I'm like, I thought it was a
Are you
certain
wondering
title.
which Santa Claus movie?
Yeah, like, well, I'm just wondering, like, I was wondering if, like, it was a certain title, like, it would just something specific other than Santa Claus,
Legit, it's Santa Claus, Santa Claus 2, and Santa Claus 3. They have
Okay,
their
well, I haven't seen it
subtitles,
in a
but
while.
yes, it's legit just numbers.
Okay, all right. I would say Santa Claus 1 and Santa Claus 2, just because they're really enjoyable and funny.
Yeah, that last Santa Claus was not really worth it.
No, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as National Lampoons goes, even the vacation one they have is hysterical. But keeping with the Christmas theme, that movie is hysterical, especially the end. Um, but yeah, it's just everything that goes wrong in that film, everything that happens. It's just the it's the type of family that would exist nowadays, and it's the type of uncle that literally, or brother I should say, that would um that would exist as well, of just all the uncomfortable situations Clark had to be in. um and then with all the outlets and the literally the how many cords jammed into one extension. um yeah, so as far as Polar Express goes, I thought that it's one of those classics, especially with Tom Hanks, and just the animation is just very different. As far as the
As in creepy? Yes.
no, well, yeah, I agree. It's just a weird type of animation you're not used to with the type of um style it is. It's not cartoony, it's 3D, but it's got this kind of metallic feeling to it where it's just like
It
everything looks like something. It just doesn't look like there's a whole lot of life in them.
it
It's
was
just
ahead
more.
of its time too for the graphics,
Yeah,
like back in the day.
I mean, coming from an art background and everything, I looked at that and I just always critique that thing and saying, golly, who textured this
Well,
and who
I
did
think
this? But
so. I like on a technical level, I think Polar Express was really, yes, it was ahead of its time because I think that was like one of the first real movies that all of the acting was done via the what do you call those suits?
you mean the motion
Yeah,
captures?
motion capture. But do those suits have just a more specific name, or is they just motion capture suits?
It's mocap. That's
Mocap.
the
Okay.
technical term, yeah,
So
for
like I
the
think that was
studio.
like the first movie really done all in mocap. I could be
hmm
wrong on that, but like definitely the only Christmas movie that was done with that.
I think one of the first ones that was done in mocap was, um, yeah, actually, it might have been that one. I'm thinking Lord of the Rings because of Smeagol. That was very heavily mocap.
Yeah, but that was
Um,
just one character though.
right, I understand that. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it was motion capture with them, um, but I know for anybody that doesn't know how motion capture works is it's literally you have the actors go into Avatar had the same thing, where you would have the actors go into this studio area, recreational area, and you would have the different platforms and scene laid out, kind of like gymnastics mats and different things like that, just all blocked out.
Okay, so the
And
first, not to interrupt, but the first film to have mocap was The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
okay, so I was on the
Yeah,
right
you were
track.
right.
Okay. So, and then what would happen is the actors would come in with with, I think it's all black, nothing but like black suits on that would have these diodes attached to them, and these diodes would then relay their motion information back to the computer, where it would look as um, stick figures kind of, and then those actions would then be added to 3D characters essentially.
So
So
they didn't have that in Polar Express, or they did.
No, that was all Polar Express, was that kind of technology.
yeah, but that's just the background of what motion capture is, and you can
Yeah.
Google it and find out more. But my point is, it was just very different from anything you see when you watch it. It's an amazing film. It has an amazing art direction as far as how it is, and the way the story is told is beautiful.
Really?
So, so your
Yeah,
top
just
three,
from
Christmas movies. Then, where would you put Polar Express?
I would put it probably like a
Excuse me.
probably like 7. It's not like on my top 5, but just in to get back to that point, it's beautiful in the fact that just the way it's just told through the eyes of the kids. That's what I'm saying. Um, but other than that, I mean, I thought Tom Hanks kind of steals that show just to be the train conductor and everything.
Well, he played
Um,
half of the cast, so he better have stole the show at some point.
Right?
well,
No, he did.
true, true, yeah,
He did a
but
really good job.
but
Like, I think
anyway,
the
so.
only people who weren't Tom Hanks were any female voice actor and like 2 kids.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that he acted other people. I was just mainly speaking on
He acted
the
as
conductor.
the narrator, Santa Claus, the conductor, the character as an adult narrating himself. I think I said that already, actually. And then he did. I'm sure he did a couple elves, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's half of the cast.
Right. I mean,
So,
uh-huh.
what's your top three Christmas movies? If that's 7 for you,
My top 3,
is you
National Lampoon. 2 is Home Alone, and then 3 is Home Alone 2.
Okay.
Home Alone is definitely in my top three.
Not
I
to make
just,
that
dude,
list confusing.
But
I can
you
watch
didn't
that.
name two that I'm excited to bring up later.
Yeah. So that's mine. I mean, I just, you know, you kind of have to watch through Home Alone. At least, you have to watch through part of it in order to get to the
Are
good
you
parts. But
are you
you know,
human if you don't watch that movie? Are
uh,
you actually a real person?
it's just one of those classics.
You just hate
you know.
Christmas if you don't want to watch it. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And
So,
unfortunately,
kid,
there are people out there who are like that. So,
well, what kid doesn't dream of having the whole house to himself? It's basically like a little mansion, and he has free reign. I mean, he's having a party. He's
I
like,
mean, it's
he's
good until
Cody.
he becomes an adult and does that same thing in a commercial, which was creepy as crap.
Okay, I didn't see that, and I
Oh,
almost.
I have to send you this video later, Cody.
wait,
So the
what are we
actor,
talking about?
the actor who plays the kid in Home Alone, they remade the entire.
Culkin?
Yes,
No,
they
they did
remade the
not.
entire set and did a
No,
commercial with him being a kid, essentially acting like a kid that he did in the house. But the
no,
thing
All
is that the
grown
whole
up.
thing feels really eerie and off and
no.
creepy.
Wait,
I'm
so he's
okay.
all grown up in this, but acting like a kid.
Yes,
No,
he's
I'm
playing the
good.
same part, but he's an adult. That's the
I'm alright.
difference.
Right.
Don't send it. Don't ruin my image. Don't ruin my Christmas.
All right, fine, I won't. But like that was it's sort of one of those weird things in psychology where like if an adult acts like a
I
kid
mean,
too
send it to
much.
me now. I mean, send it to me now. I mean, I'm just mad that you brought it. I have to see it, of
No,
course.
I'm not. No, look it up on your own time then, Cody. I'm not going to be the reason why you
No,
hate Home Alone.
no. You brought this up, so you're gonna go through the work to send it to me
All
because
right,
I don't
okay.
feel
I'll
like
send it to
searching
you
it.
later, not now.
I don't feel like searching it. I don't feel like typing it in because I don't feel like using my fingers to do that. And
Anyways,
you brought this up.
Anyways, so
I will show you later, Cody. And if it's
All
still
right,
important to you, we will talk about it in the next Christmas broadcast.
it's very important. But
All right.
anyway, I think Eric has some more points to make about Christmas movies.
the other one,
Watch him have like
I know
no more
that-
points.
I know there's another one. It's not the Grinch, but there was an animated one that looked pretty good. Um, that was a pretty good film. Um, just the way just how it was directed. So it's the classic Grinch story, but kind of told in a more of a animated style, 3D animated style, which is really my type of theme. What else? There's so many others that I probably will think of after this podcast, but those are my main ones. So I am done.
Okay.
So
You
I
may
will pass
proceed,
it
Cody.
Um,
He got stolen for Christmas.
it's true. So I don't know. I'll start off by saying, yeah, that's a really good list, Eric. Honestly, I don't know how to compete with it other than I'm gonna say that Home Alone is definitely my top choice for Christmas movies because I think it's fun watching. Like you always dream of having that. At least I did, having the house alone and just kind of partying, playing games, and just being a kid.
I mean, did anybody kind of think with Home Alone now that I watch it as an adult, it's like it takes place during the holidays. It takes place and okay, all the different at least with the a lot well, at least with the first one a lot. It does with putting out the cookies and putting,
Right.
decorating the tree and everything, but it kind of doesn't revolve around that. It revolves around defending the house, and even though it is the holidays, that's always struck me where it's like technically it's still a Christmas movie, but technically it's like not. So it's in that gray area for me. Um,
It's one of those movies. I read something recently where someone said a Christmas movie is literally any movie that happens on Christmas or around the holidays. Like some people even consider certain horror movies like Christmas movies because they happen on Christmas.
Nah, I don't like that way of
But
thinking though, because
I know you don't, but I'm just saying like that's just how some people will. They'll be like, okay, so Home Alone, yes, not like Christmassy, but if we're gonna say real Christmassy, I think A Christmas Story. That one is played 24/7
yeah,
on.
yep,
I can't remember if it's ABC or
probably Freeform.
something, but my mom always puts it on every year.
I've never seen Christmas Story.
And
Whoa,
she
whoa, whoa! You've never seen the Christmas Story, Eric?
hold on.
No, I've never had an interest in watching it
Let's
because
not. Let's not.
I've watched It's a Wonderful Life. I've watched,
So, Eric, A Christmas Story is a classic. If you don't watch it, I'm gonna unfollow you. So, like, basically,
No,
it's
Cody,
really
you're going in the right direction. What we're going to do is tie Eric up with some
and have me
lights,
watch it.
light
we're
him
gonna
up, and put in front of A Christmas Story, and let him watch through that entire movie at least once, because there's no way you can call yourself an American if you haven't seen the Christmas movie at least once.
I would go as far as to say, I think Eric is an alien from another planet. If he
Look,
hasn't
that's
watched
always
it,
up for debate, but that's not what we're here for tonight.
that's true. We might have to vote him off the island, dude.
Hey, don't make me call my mothership down. You know,
He's admitted it.
so dark to you both. You know.
Dude, he's part of the Red Scare. The Chinese invasion has started. Okay. So
This isn't
anyway,
Fallout.
this is not communist China either. So, uh, sorry. Anyway, so definitely Home Alone, A Christmas Story, and this might be an unpopular opinion because it's so mainstream now. But Elf, like when Elf
Oh
first came
yeah,
out,
I totally forgot about that.
it was so good.
So,
But now
like,
everyone makes a big rave about it, and I've seen it too much. But for about 3 years ago, I could watch it every year, like 5 times a year. A Christmas Story, I don't get sick of. Elf, Elf, I got sick of.
Elf is annoying
And
after a while.
Home Alone, I didn't get sick of. It just Will Ferrell is good, but in small doses, for me at least. Because A Christmas Story has to have like, it's gotta, it's a cute story, but it's just kind of I don't know. There's just those movies you watch once and you kind of get your fill of it, and then there's movies that you can watch over and over and just be completely in awe each time.
yeah, sort of like
It's like
how.
it's weird how they are. I don't know. Can't explain it. It's like watching. Like I can watch Spider-Man 2. This is just random. This is just another movie. I can watch Spider-Man 2 several times over, but for some reason, like I can't watch the first one anymore. I've just seen it too much. It doesn't have replay value anymore. But there's certain movies that always have that replay value. And
Well,
Elf isn't it. Elf isn't it for me for Christmas movies, but A Christmas Story, I can watch that 24 hours a day, like 7 days a week on the ABC Family or whatever the
well, it's a
channel
good
is.
thing they're going to do it once again this year for you. So,
I never have to miss out.
I know.
So those are my top ones. But I do have to agree that Home Alone is definitely something. I don't know why I refer to it as very Christmassy. He even goes into church at one point
Well,
and like
Mhm.
hangs out
well,
with the
well,
preacher.
we'll have
It's
to
on
do
like
a whole discussion on this, hopefully in our next podcast. But like, we'll have to sit down and sort of narrow what is actually defines a Christmas movie properly. Because, like we're saying earlier, like just because it takes place during Christmas time doesn't make it a Christmas movie. It really doesn't. So,
Right.
but that's the thing. In your opinion, it doesn't, but in other people's opinions, it
no, no,
does.
no, no, no. This isn't opinion. This is objective fact, Cody. And let me explain why for 5 seconds here. All right. So let's take something like
Eric, help! Eric, help! I'm
No,
being
no.
attacked.
Well,
Help, help, I'm being repressed.
He's right about Home Alone though. He's right about how it's not. You know, it's just it takes place, but it isn't. It's just I was thinking that the last time I watched it, which I watched it like a week ago, and
So,
it was like just one of those gray areas, like what I was saying earlier.
Home
But
Alone
it
is in a gray
happens.
area, yes. But the
He
reason
gets
why I would
left. He gets
consider.
left alone on Christmas. He finds help in God and the church, which brings Jesus into play with the movie. And then he's kind of like fighting off these villains during Christmas time and reunites with his family, and that's like his big present. That seems like a cool Christmas movie.
Oh, it
I don't
does.
I
It's
don't
just
see how I don't understand. I don't understand you, Spencer. This broadcast is about to get violent.
No, I'm
Explain
saying
yourself.
Home Alone is a Christmas movie. Let me explain why, though.
oh.
Okay, all right, all right.
You guys keep cutting me off. You won't let me explain myself, and you know how I get when I cannot go on a tangent. So, we're
That's
going
the
on a
point.
tangent
We're
right now.
trying to impress you.
I am not being repressed today. I am doing this.
Is it oppressed or is it repressed?
Well, in this case, repressed.
I'm just trying to take away your freedom of speech by
Yes,
continuously
but I
talking.
could also kick you out of this podcast, though, too. So, who really has the power?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I'm being repressed. I don't
Well,
even know what repressed means. What does repressed mean?
I'm,
Anyways, tangent
we're gonna
time. Tangent time with Home Alone. So the reason why Home Alone is a Christmas story, even though it's in a gray area because it doesn't really deal with the normal things that Christmas movies deal with, is that, and we'll talk about more of this later when we actually try to define what a Christmas movie is. So Home Alone deals with three main things. It deals with family, it deals with redemption, and then it deals with the triumph of good over evil, which is all consistent with what Christmas and the holiday season this time of the year is all about. So the family is an important thing because that's the whole dynamic of it. It's him realizing
Oh no.
that family is important even if it's a headache.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the lessons of Christmas is all about. After all, peace towards men, gifts with your family, etc. So it's Christmas vibe there. But like you were,
getting pizza for free.
well, that's what we call a Friday at work. But anyways,
Christmas miracle, dude.
and you get also to this idea of redemption. So you brought how Callum went into the church and prayed, and so that's one aspect of how it's the proper religious aspect to the Christmas movie. But actually, the proper religious aspect of Home Alone is with the elderly man. So what the elderly man represents is the kid's name is Callum, right? Callan?
Kevin.
Kevin. All right, sorry.
Pretty sure it's Liam Neeson.
So Liam Neeson has the fear of. So Kevin has the fear of the old man across the street, right? He prejudges him. He assumes all these horrible things about it and everything, right? So the subplot to the whole movie
He
is
prejudged.
yes. So a whole subplot of the movie is how Kevin is sort of learning how to be an adult and learning the whole Christian ethic of not rushing to judgment on people and focusing on the redemption. Because the old man, he's upset in the movie because he has a bad relationship with his son. And so Callum, there's this whole subplot of Kevin repairing that relationship by simply inspiring the old man just to talk to his son. So it's a
And
very
doesn't he end up like saving him in the end? I can't remember.
so yes, it has a dual way of salvation with them in the sense of the old man helps Callan triumph over the robbers, but also Kevin helps the old man have redemption with his son. So it's sort of this weird interaction where both of them are saving each other. Because the point of Christmas is this idea of reciprocal relationships. That's the whole point of the season. And that's why Home Alone is a really good example of a Christmas movie, even though it's a lot more, kiddish and not really religious in theme. Because it's this whole idea of bringing about the best of all possible situations during this time of the year, which is what Kevin does in a weird way. So that's why Home Alone is a Christmas movie. It has all the ethics of family, redemption, and life in peace. We'll have to narrow down the qualifications later, but that's why Home Alone is a good Christmas movie. But it's actually not the top of my list. So I would have to say that probably, in my personal opinion, probably the best Christmas movie is, and the best Christmas story, I think, has to be A Christmas Carol, and more specifically to a movie, The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Hey, buddy, I don't
There
know
you
when
go.
I don't know when you took over thinking it was your turn, but I just wanted to finish up. No, I'm just kidding. I agree with you on that one.
Cody,
That's a very good one.
did you not finish your list?
I was just gonna say, no, that was it. Home Alone, A Christmas Story, and Elf. Those are really my top three. Any other Christmas movie is just a bonus. Those are the ones I'll go to every time, though.
Although I do agree with you on the whole elf thing. But that's one of my brother's favorite Christmas movies, but I could never get into Will Ferrell at all.
Yeah, it's a big one, but
It's good, but again, it's like It's stupid humor. It's not
Mm-hmm.
something I can watch all the time.
And I think that's why I get so turned off. So like if I watched Elf one time every year, that's enough.
I like more in-depth humor, not just I don't know how to describe it, but there's different levels of different kinds of humor, and I don't really levitate to that kind of humor anymore.
Well, let me ask you
He always
this.
plays like an adult man child, you know,
Well, let me
and I'm
ask you
like,
this. So
well,
like a movie with Jim Carrey as the Grinch, is that more in-depth humor or is that more stupid humor?
I
In depth.
see, it's really hard because Jim Carrey, I would almost say in depth, in a sense that he established his own character long ago, and every movie he's in, it's not like for me, it's not like Tom Hanks where I get sick of it. Like I've gotten to a point where I can't watch a lot of Tom Hanks movies anymore because I've just seen and heard his voice so much. But every time I see Jim Carrey do or Adam Sandler, I just like light up. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. Like same humor, but I don't get this is in depth. Like they go all in. But for people that are more like I don't know Pineapple Express and stuff like the dumber humor, it's like I can watch those kinds of movies or Step Brothers. I can watch those kinds of movies like every now and then. But mostly I like the people that really get into the character and make like a in depth um, like humor to it. Like Jim Carrey is always like super in depth in his humor. The Cable Guy and freaking Ace Ventura. He really gets into it. He's the whole show. The other stuff is just like I don't know. It's like side humor,
It's just the
but like
plot getting in the way of Jim Carrey.
basically, I don't know. There's just certain people I can watch over and over. Certain comedians, and there's certain ones that I like. It's like every now and then. Same thing with animated shows, really. Like Rick and Morty is fun to watch. South Park is fun to watch, but certain ones I can't watch all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Same goes with Christmas movies, like Elf. Like I kind of like more genuine Christmas movies during Christmas time, not just something that's like constantly silly. I like to get a little serious in my Christmas feels.
More like wholesome Christmas kind of deal.
Yeah, like Polar Express, for example, is a good get in the feels. Um, A Christmas Story is a good get in the feels. Home Alone is a good get in the feels. Like I like to feel warm and fuzzy. I got to get under a blanket. I got to get some my hot cocoa.
Mm-hmm.
So
Assuming that, it's not like 70 degrees outside.
listen, we'll put the house to 59 degrees so we can
Oh my god.
act like it's cold, and then we'll get the electric bill shot up to like $120 instead of 80.
Yeah. For people who don't know, we all live in Florida, and we have the opposite problem during Christmas is when things might be too warm for us. So,
You turn on your heat like maybe 2 days a year in Florida,
if
maybe.
that,
I do it every now and then to just warm up, and I only do it for like maybe an hour to get the house
it's like
like
45
warmed up.
degrees outside. It's still 70 or 68 inside the home, and you're just like, just put on a jacket. We're fine.
You wear a jacket for 2 hours, and then you're sweating and trying to wear shorts and a tank top like by 12 p.m. It's ridiculous. But
Well,
it's
there's such a thing as, snow shorts, but I don't think we've hit Alaskan level tiers of cold yet.
I'm glad we don't shovel snow, dude. I'm super happy for that, but I wouldn't mind it being a season change, like still staying cold all winter instead of like back and forth. So I hate having to have like two pairs of clothes in the car at all times. It's like I'm going from point A to point B, but I get to point B, I have to either wear like, Florida is a bipolar state. I don't know how else to put it. It's
Well,
so tropical.
it's just
Like just pick some degrees, man, and stay there for a little bit so
no,
I can
no. We
I can
we
get
pick
the
a climate. It's either hot and wet or it's cold and wet. That's it.
and it's always wet.
Yeah, man. The
Dude, we
humidity
have
on
the
average is
swamp.
like 80 degrees. It's like this is why
We
there's no
have
such thing as a white
swamp
Christmas
fever,
in
dude.
Florida.
Swamp fever. We have. I just imagine like deep in the swamps of Florida. You've got your hillbillies. You've got your moonshine. It's probably not as like cartoony as I want it to be, but
No, it's far more terrifying when you see it in person.
I'm sure, dude. It's like okay, so quick tangent. We went to Montana um, during like it wasn't about to snow, but it was getting close, and we went up a mountain range to go, check out a view. We went up the wrong road and ran into a militia meeting. And this guy walks out with an AK and he's like, "Hey, did you guys bring food for the militia meeting?" And we're like, "No, we actually are trying to find this lookout." He's like, "Oh, that's the other road, but do you guys want to join?" And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
we're good. We're just looking for." And I told my mom, I'm like, "Hey, mom, for this upcoming Christmas, can you get me in with those guys just so I can see what they're cooking in there?
Oh my gosh,
Because
Cody, no.
it smelled really good. Like they were having a roast. I hope they weren't cooking like human meat or anything
I
crazy.
mean, I doubt that, but it's just like Cody, only you would have a situation like that.
But you get into these clubs for the food, and then you bail out when the food stops coming. You're
Just like
like, yeah,
Christmas
I'm
parties.
down. I'm down. You bring a rifle and everything. You're like, yeah, fuck
Okay, this is
the
less of Christmas
government.
parties.
Fuck the government, and then you eat the food, and then you're like, haha, those guys are crazy, and then you bail out. But you've gotten your fixins for the night.
You know you're in the South when you have to use the word fixins.
Fixins, dude. Yeah, your
But
fix. Okay, sorry, that was a weird tangent. That's my personal Christmas story.
oh my gosh,
I
Cody.
shared. My mom didn't give me that present. I wasn't able to join the militia for the food, but it smelled really good, and they were really polite. They showed us exactly where to go, and it was just so weird to see that happen. I went down and told my dad about it. He's like, you know, I feel like that's not something you run into a lot. How did you guys do that? I was like, Mom was driving. He goes, okay, I get it.
Anyways, so
Christmas story.
Christmas story, yes, and I'm actually going to be So like I think all of the movies and stories that you guys had are A-list tier Christmas stuff, but my top three are none of those. So my top three are these, and there's not really a
Boo.
specific. Shut up, Cody. It's not really a specific order of things. So like the first one is going to be A Christmas Carol, and like I said before, like all of Christmas Carol is good, in my
That
book.
is really good.
But I think the Muppets Christmas Carol is the best movie of A Christmas Carol because it's that perfect mixture of serious humor with silly humor and an actually like wonderful Christmas story.
Dude, the Muppets you can get into as an adult. I never watched it as a kid, and I started getting into the Muppets when I got with Taylor's family. Love it. So, yes, I agree with you.
So,
Muppets edition.
oh yeah, Muppets Christmas Carol, hands down, A-list tier movie. In fact, even say it's in the S tier at this point. Second one, I would have to say is The Grinch with Jimmy Carrey
Yes.
because that is a movie I always watch every Christmas. There's just something about that movie that really speaks to me in the sense of like that. I think that's Jim Carrey at his best.
Dude, he does a good job playing a weird dude.
Well,
He
he
really
is a
does.
weird dude, but
I know he's so weird in real life, and that's the best part about his role in movies is that he just gets to be his weird self.
although
The
Like,
is
painter
that
too.
acting if you're just being who you are, or you just paid to be who
right?
you are?
That's what I'm saying. This man must have no life. He's just like being
Um,
crazy, and they probably do most of the stuff in one take, right? They're like, "Oh, it's Jim. We'll roll with that's perfect."
I think
Just
it
comes out
probably works.
naturally.
I think it probably works more like how so like they probably have a script that they do want to go by, but then they let Jim Carrey Mad Lib a little bit, and then they just take the best recording on that. It's sort of like crap, I'm blanking on the name right now. But that's probably how I won't bring up another actor, but that's probably how
You mean improvise?
yeah. So they probably just let him improvise and Mad Lib the script a little bit, and then they just keep whichever one they think works best for the movie.
Kind of like Robin Williams in with the genie
What
in
was your
Aladdin.
third one though? So you said A Christmas Carol, and you also said Fringe.
So the third one is actually one that I saw recently. It's called Claws. It's on Netflix. I don't know if you guys saw it or not. Eric, you would like it a
Mm-mm.
lot.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yep,
Is it animated?
yep,
Yep,
and
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
and there's three reasons why I like Claws a lot. Number one is that it has all of my favorite actors in it. So it has Norm Macdonald before he died in it. Like they made that movie a couple years before he died recently. So I think it came out in 2019. So it's like
Ooh.
legit one of the last movies he ever did. And then it just has just an A-list cast of other voice actors in it. The story itself is so I think this to go back on the Christmas theme, like Christmas has a lot of very redemption stories in it, and Claus is one of the stories. So the main plot is this guy, he's a spoiled rich kid, and he hasn't worked a hard day's work in his life, and his father's trying to get him to be productive with himself, to have a meaningful life and everything. So he sends him to run a post office. The family owns a post office firm, etc. But he sends his son way up north to some nobody town to run the post office there. And after a whole sling of plot devices and stories and everything, he redeems himself by coming up with this whole holiday traditions in the area, so that the people who are fighting each other sort of forgive each other and come together as a community. It's a very wholesome story. And it's little supernatural stuff here and there, but for the most part, it's just the characters being them. And it's one of those movies that I just got to sit down and be like, you know what, this is something I could watch every year that Christmas comes around. And it's so unfortunate that I'm having to cancel Netflix.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because like they do have some like good stuff on there, but like I don't watch Netflix anymore, so I could use the $12.
Mm-hmm.
But and I don't know. It's also like one of the few like movies that has the Sami people in it. So I don't know if you guys know who those people are. So in like very northern parts of Scandinavia and in I think even in Russia maybe, there's these people who are called the Sami, and they have their own distinct culture, language, and traditions separate from Europeans. And they actually show up in the movie as like a major plot device for the characters at the end of the story. And it was really cool how they were able to just integrate those people in a very non-activist kind of way, if that makes sense. Like they're not just showing them to be like, oh hey, we have minorities in here. No, they actually made it as like a plot device. Like here's something that would happen naturally if these people were interacting with each other. You know, the whole movie's very wholesome, but the whole movie's also very kind of, it reminds you of your mortality a little bit too at the same time. So it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of enjoyment, and then after you end the movie, you're just kind of like, huh. I feel like, and maybe this should be something that all Christmas movies should have a little bit, just to sort of send the message of family and redemption home. It's sort of the idea of a, not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but a mi amore, remember death kind of thing.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like you should focus on redeeming yourself and focusing on living a happy life with the people you love and everything, because you do have a limited amount of time. And maybe Christmas movies should have a little bit more of that kind of reminder too. It's like you should be enjoying the wonderful things in life instead of focusing on the stuff that doesn't matter, because you're only here once kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like Claus so much. It's a very good archetypal story to me. Most Christmas stories are archetypal, but for me, Claus was one of those things that really hit home. And I think what solidified it was just Norm Macdonald was in it, and I'm just like, wait, this has my interest now.